Alright, what's good, YouTube? Right now we're reacting to Unreasonable Crashouts by Waves. Earlier we reacted to his reasonable crashouts. Now we reacting to the unreasonable ones. This is part one. Oh my gosh, this is part one of two. There's another part I'm about to react to and post in a separate video. So let's get it. Unreasonable Crashouts, Waves. Let's see if it's a good vid.
Crashouts. Recently on this channel, we've discussed and deep dive into this category of people, given explanations and different types of analysis of why some of these individuals were just making sense, why their anger was justified in certain moments, and how at the time we could relate to them and understand they weren't wrong in the moment for how they were acting. But at the same time, there's always two sides to a story. As much as there were some crashouts that made sense and were reasonable, there were also just as much crashouts that were evil as hell.
Sasuke's was absolutely reasonable.
And understand they weren't wrong in the moment for how they were acting. But at the same time, there's always two sides to a story. As much as there were some crashouts that made sense and were reasonable, there were also just as much crashouts that were evil as hell, man. Some of the people in media were devious, maniacal, crazy, wicked, insane individuals. I'm talking about some of these characters show you that there's levels to this shit, and clear out any possibility of even being labeled as reasonable. It's impossible to defend these people. Ladies and gentlemen, I have heard your comments from the highest of the heavens, and today I present to you unreasonable crashouts. And I've got a lineup of absolute sickos, which some of them completely dominated this category, going from being absolute haters to just straight up disgusting menaces. And I've done too much talking, so without further introduction, let's get right in, man. And we are starting with one of the biggest haters in fiction, the Reverse Flash. And this man needs no introduction.
Absolutely. This man, the Reverse Flash, is a menace. I don't even remember in so many stories, it's basically just like, what is it? The Flash doesn't notice him that much or something like that?
The Reverse Flash is hands down one of the most vile villains to ever exist. This man has done some of the worst shit possible to Barry, and
he might be worse than the Joker, because with the Joker, he knows what he doesn't really like. He knows that he's causing pain, but like he has no like sense of. This is like a comic where the Joker Lee has no sense of like feeling bad, whatever. He has no empathy, right? So it's like, but the Reverse Flash knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how much pain he's causing, and he's just doing it for the love of the game, or just the hate of Barry. Just the hate of Barry. Why does the Reverse Flash even hate Barry? I don't even remember at this point.
Percent of everything he did to this man was because of the most pettiest reasons I've ever seen in comic book history. The Reverse Flash is a serial level hater. He low-key reminds me of the hate I have towards Arby's. Them sandwiches look gross as hell. But Eobard Thawne is hands down one of the most heinous individuals to ever grace this entire planet. And what's even more crazy about this man's whole existence is that he was even a supreme level hater even before the Flash was even in the picture. So let's take a look back at this man's origin to see how he became one of the most menacing individuals of all time. So Eobard is from the 25th century, you know, flying cars, all the people looking like they're fresh out of Star Trek, and everything in this time is planned perfectly. And then they made him a younger brother, and look at Eobard's face in the family photo. And right here, I don't blame him. When I was a kid, I used to hate taking photos, man, I swear. But Eobard saw his brother as a complete bum. He used to find this guy so jarring and was practically a nuisance in his life. And the guy used to waste his time so much. He was behind on studying, which got him rejected from the Flash Museum, which at the time was connected to Eobard's biggest goal, which was to find out about the Speed Force. So then he decides to steal the files, and then his brother comes in, and this guy's a whole fed, bruv. So then his brother tries to arrest him, and straight away, no hesitation, on the next page, the Reverse Flash just comes in and just eliminates this man from the timeline, which made this guy an only child, fam. So now we're in the new timeline, and Eobard is working at the Flash Museum, and the professor of the museum is talking about how he's rebuilt the cosmic treadmill, which let the Flash test his speed. Eobard then tries to convince the professor to let him work beside him, but he refuses. So you know what happens next? The Reverse Flash comes in and eliminates this man as well. So now we're in a new timeline, and now Eobard is the professor of the Flash Museum, and his parents start worrying about him, thinking that he's going crazy because this guy's been glued to figuring out the Speed Force for a minute. So you know what happens next? The Reverse Flash removes his parents from the timeline. So now we're in a new
Yo! No! You cannot remove your parents from the timeline and still exist. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. The brother, okay. The professor dude of the, okay, you cannot remove your parents from the timeline. That does not make sense. What are we talking about?
Timeline. I'm a boy Eobard find some fine shit.
Now that crash out right there was reasonable, because how do you justify eliminating your own parents from the timeline? You don't exist.
Feel me? But she's already got a man, and of course the Reverse Flash just completely deletes my man from the timeline, and then the girl rejects him. So instead of just taking the rejection and keeping it moving,
yo, are we serious? He just removes whoever he wants?
This guy goes back in time to when she was 5 years old and shakes her head at super speed so bad that she gets brain damage. This guy was a sicko for this. So now in the new timeline, and he's finally done it. He's cracked the speed force and now has become a speedster. So with his newfound power, he decides to run back in time to go see the Flash with his own eyes, only to find out that he's meant to become his mortal enemy and can never become the Flash himself. So with this new revelation, this guy wastes no time and goes back in time to try and stop Barry from becoming the Flash in the first place. But then Eobard realizes if Barry never becomes a Flash, he never becomes a reverse Flash, so he never exists. So he has to let Barry get struck by lightning here. And from this moment on, ladies and gentlemen, this man decided to just give Barry the worst possible outcome in everything he could ever have in his life. He murdered his mom and framed his dad, pushed this guy down the stairs when he was a kid. He used to finesse all his books, sending them flying and shit. Erased all the kids that became friends with Barry out of the timeline. And even as petty as this shit was, he moved Barry's arm to the right so he couldn't even catch a flipping baseball. The reverse Flash is the reason why if Barry goes back to save his mom, the world just goes...
I mean, are we serious? Is it ever that deep? He erased his friends from existence? And my issue is, if Barry changes the timeline, he's cooked. Everything falls apart. But with the reverse Flash, erases multiple people from existence for slight inconveniences, and that's okay? The writers just hate the Flash.
Straight into a flipping wall and messes herself over. This guy's a fiend. Like, damn, this guy is so evil. Even his speed force is called the negative speed force. Like, what more justification do you need? And in the TV show, this guy was just as criminal. He literally started everything in season 1 to manipulate this man to create a portal through time. Even used Barry's own flipping daughter for his escape to literally be the reason why she faded from existence. This guy killed his daughter, man. Not to mention his origin in the CW is petty as shit. This guy only became the reverse Flash because the Flash took his spotlight. So this guy decided to go on a full-on crazy spree after this. This guy's a psychopath, man. And I always knew this guy was weird because in the show he's always whispering like, speak up, man, what are you doing? And all of these things this guy was committing and doing towards Barry was for no reason besides being one of the most jealous people in history. The reverse Flash was just a certified hater. Anything majority of the time that went bad in Barry's life was 99% this guy's fault. And he committed to just ruining this guy's life completely. And there was a time this guy aspired to just be like him at one point. He used to admire the Flash and respect him. He idolized him at one point. But as soon as he found out he was meant to be the big bad, he didn't even hesitate and went straight into business. Eobard's always been evil from the minute he was a regular guy all the way to when he got the powers to just ruin the lives of everyone around him. And after I've yapped for so long, I've just realized that it's not just the reverse Flash. The majority of the Flash villains are either petty as hell or just hella demonic. Zoom is another proper crash out and he's Wally's arch nemesis. And this guy's whole thing is to make this man suffer. He made Wally's wife have a whole miscarriage and even told the guy what gender his children were going to be because he was having twins. I repeat, this guy caused a whole miscarriage in his wife and told the guy the gender of his children. This guy's one of the most evil villains of all time. He has to be top 3. What the hell? And this guy only became Zoom because the reverse Flash made him become Zoom. This guy hates the Flash that much. He needed him to have an arch nemesis. And Barry wasn't even the Flash. It was Wally. So really, he just hates the guy in general. The reverse Flash, in my opinion, is hands down the most evil villain I can think of. Because it's not only the fact that this man does it out of pure spite, but also because he goes above and beyond to even make sure that the Flash, no matter who it is, will suffer for the rest of their life. And remember, this guy used to be a fanboy, and it took one ass beating and the revelation for him to become one of the most heinous people of all time. So let this be a lesson to you, man. If you know anyone that looks up to you and wants to be just like you, make sure you don't reject them and teach.
I was just about to say the same thing, bro. I was just about to say the same thing.
Your ways, because God forbid, if they get super speed, they'll mash your life up, man. I swear down. Now going on to my next crash out, we have Homelander from The Boys. And straight up, I just want to say, I don't rate this guy at all. He pisses me off, man. This guy's a straight up trash. This guy sucks. Nothing about him is cool. He's just Superman with a baby.
He has 0 reasonable crash outs in his whole existence.
Mentality who basically throws a fit every time shit doesn't go his way. This guy is so weird, man. He's a whole grown-ass man who drinks breast milk, and every time somebody goes against what he says, he just kills them. This guy sucks, man. But to be fair, that's how the rise of The Boys want you to feel about him. Homelander was created to be one of the most unlikable characters, period. Even when they started talking about his backstory a lot more in season 4, as messed up as it was with the whole story of how he was raised in a lab, drugged up, tested on, and had no connection with anyone whatsoever, as bad as these things were, and I sympathize with it.
Don't care, boring.
To a degree, I still thought this guy was hella evil. Homelander did too much horrible things before he started revealing his crazy traumatic backstory. That I kid you not, I was unfazed by some of it, I'm not gonna lie. Sure, I felt bad knowing he was a lab rat and tested on, but that doesn't excuse any of the weird things he was doing after this. The guy's a murderer. Usually when you would hear a villain's backstory, 9 times out of 10, you would get it. Depending on the level of suffering they had, or why they're even doing what they're doing that's seen as a crime, or even if they're trying to save their loved ones and sacrifice everyone else, I could normally understand these different different types of perspectives. But because Homelander has done so much across the 4 seasons of The Boys already, I just think it's impossible to feel for the guy. He's an arse, bro. He killed a whole flight of people, got a girl to jump off a roof, threw his own son off a roof, baited out people's whole secrets for clout, has a whole supremacy complex, and basically thinks people ain't shit. Throws tantrums like he's a toddler when he loses his power. Ate seafood in front of the deep, knowing this man is a whole Aquaman clone. Do you know how mad that is? They ate his friends, fam. And then he forced the deep to eat one of his octopus friends. Oh my days, this guy's a sicko, man. Homelander has no respect for people other than himself. The guy is just a Superman clone with a bully mindset. And it wasn't until characters like Butcher and Soldier Boy who were completely rocking this guy's shit. He even got so shook he retreated. The guy was scared for his life. But to be fair, he wasn't getting jumped. But that don't matter because this guy straight up sucks. Homelander has no valid crash out. None. It's impossible to even mention any time he's killed someone and it had to happen. The guy just killed all those people just for the sake of it. The guy is insane. But what tailored me to hate on Homelander? What made me despise this man? Even near the same level of hate I have for Book 1 Tariq St. Patrick, because Lord knows I hate Tariq. He pisses me off, man. Was when he killed Black Noir. When Homelander killed Black Noir, a piece of my soul just left my body when Homelander just decided to puncture a hole through Noir, just donutting this man completely. Noir was my favorite character in the 7. The guy was cool as hell. He looked like a mix between Snake Eyes, Batman, Deathstroke, and Deadpool. He was cool as hell. And when Homelander killed him and he was surrounded by his imaginary friends to show that Noir wasn't alone, this shit was sad as hell, man. Noir, why? I was crying. But besides that, I just don't like Homelander. And the rest of the 7 in the earlier seasons were the biggest bum lickers to this guy. Yes, granted that Homelander definitely would kill him with no hesitation. He would fold him like a pretzel, I'll be real. But it got so bad that the Deep and A-Train would basically be fighting to see who could bum lick Homelander and sit on him first, fam. Pause. I get the whole thing of them being scared of Homelander knowing he can just wipe them out like he's Thanos. But still, everyone apart from Starlight and Black Noir should have had more of a backbone. But Homelander isn't the worst character in The Boys. There's someone in this.
You got people with no power. The thing is, you have people with no powers literally just like low-key messing with him though. So, you know, depends on who's mentally strong.
Annoying than Homelander and subjectively more crazy than the guy. And I'm talking about the legendary hero, the Deep. Because this guy is hands down one of the best characters in the show. What are we talking about here? The peak low-key character shown his back for real. The guy is tough as hell. He can breathe underwater. And I know you might remember that one episode where he cussed Butcher and the gang off with a whole whale. And bro was just standing on top of the whale straight aura farming. This guy was tough. I'm not gonna lie.
The whale
is definitely one of the biggest.
No. That whale got impaled. They drove straight through that whale. It died.
Widows in the show.
It was aura farming for like 0.3 seconds before they killed the whale.
Stays bum-sucking Homelander to a whole new level. Like, I can't forget that this guy was about to go down on A-Train just because Homelander said so. That shit was diabolical. All the time he joined the whole church cult to try and get back into the 7. I'm not gonna lie, he was doing too much. But besides these things, the Peak is one of the coldest characters in this show. I was gassing this guy up when he was talking that shit back to Ashley when she tried to violate him. W-mans. But for real, Homelander is a great villain. Anthony Starr plays this guy flawlessly. Like I said, the writers make us as the viewers dislike Homelander. And this man just plays his character so well that we really are feeding into this. Homelander being a whole psychopath who will go to any extreme lengths to do whatever he has is interesting to be seen. And The Boys is a peak show. And Homelander is a big part of why it is peak. So as much as I say I hate this guy or don't rate him, I still remember that he's adding a lot to the show. So fair play, man, fair play. But this, my friends, brings us to the final crash out of this video. And this person was such a hater. The word hater isn't enough to describe them. This guy came back from the dead, haunted a man's dreams, basically got his gang to jump his family, and was possessing people. This guy was not only a crash out, but he was straight up a menace. And yes, my
is it Dio?
People, I'm talking about Colonel H. Stinkmeaner. Now this man is a pinnacle of what it means to be a hater. Stinkmeaner ain't never been a calm guy. From birth, this man was born to be one of the most negative people of all time. This guy didn't give a shit about anything. When Stinkmeaner went blind at 15 and was told he only had 3 years to live, this guy dedicated those years to just ruining other people's lives. The guy stays hating. However, before I go into Stinkmeaner some more, we need to go over the definition of a moment. So a moment is a moment where ignorance overwhelms the mind of an otherwise logical male. It basically causes a problem between two people, getting them to scrap. Remember this for later because it's important. Stinkmeaner in the first episode was already out here moving reckless. The guy came in at 200 miles per hour and just completely crashed his car into Robert's whip, even crashing into it multiple times even though he already knows there's a car there. But real quick, who the hell gave Stinkmeaner a license? What dumbass thought it would be smart to give a blind man a license? He must have beat the shit.
I highly doubt he took the test. I think he stole that car, man.
shit out of the guy to get him on, I swear. So now we skip to Granddad and Stinkmeaner arguing, and this leads to Granddad being in a moment. And you know, even though Stinkmeaner was talking crazy and violated this man, he could have avoided this. It could have led to a peaceful ending and they could have just gone their separate ways. But then Stinkmeaner committed one of the most irreparable crimes and one of the most traumatic things any person can experience. Stinkmeaner cocks his leg up like he's Luffy and steps on Robert's clean shoes. Oh my God,
on the white!
Do you know how much Air Forces are now in this economy? And how easy white shoes stain in general? My guy, these were fresh out of the box and you stepped on them. Nah, bro, if it were me, we'd be fighting. I could never take that level of disrespect. That shit is outrageous. So Robert throws a bang at Stinkmeaner, and Stinkmeaner out here dodging it like he's UI Goku and drop this man to the floor. So then Robert goes on a whole training arc to then have a whole final battle with Stinkmeaner. And then he wins, but he kills Stinkmeaner by accident. But this, my friends, wasn't the last we saw of Stinkmeaner and his many connections. Robert's life after this was never the same. So I'm gonna run through everything Stinkmeaner did just to show you how much of a menace this guy truly was. He full on trained with the devil whipping demons and shit. Possessed Tom to try and get his revenge on the Freeman family. Had a whole group called the Hatocracy doing a bunch of menace shit to old people in a retirement home. And look at the names of the members. Lord Rufus Crab Miser, Lady Esmeralda Gripe Nasty, and Mr. George Pissed Officer. The guy's pissed off in his surname. And these men were whooping the Freemans differently. These men are sicko.
Yo, they pulled up to the school and just whooped them for like no reason.
But then my goat Bushido Brown came in and was sweeping these man. But then this guy just got his head
decapitated him.
Rest in peace to Bushido Brown. I thought this guy was sick.
They didn't even like Stinkmeaner. They hated him. They didn't even like him. They didn't even like him. They literally slid for him just because they could. They didn't even like him.
Right after this, these man got arrested because that's how you get rid of a moment. You send them to jail. But this wasn't even the last thing Stinkmeaner ever did to the Freeman family. The guy full on got himself cloned just to get revenge on him if he ever died. Now when Robert and Stinkmeaner start scrapping in this episode, I don't know what type of cloning shit was going on there because this guy was low-key straight up moving like he was a ninja. It was mad. Then they planned a whole final fight and Robert was straight up whooping this man. But as he was about to finish him off, he realized this shit ain't worth it. So he let the clone live, and now the clone just out here rage baiting this guy right outside his house. Well, you know, at least he didn't kill him again. But all of this dumb shit, all of this shit happened to the Freeman family over a whole parking space. There's no other reason to it. I blame the guy who gave Stinkmeaner a license. Who the hell gave a blind guy a license?
Ain't nobody give him a license. He just did not care.
You're a sicko. But this guy is one of the biggest haters of all time. And as soon as I saw him step on the white forces, I could feel Robert's pain. I was low-key crying at this shit. Why do you Stinkmeaner? You suck. And in conclusion, if any of you get into a disagreement with someone and they step on your shoes, this is the solution I want you guys to follow. Ask the guy who did that to your shoes to quickly look at your shoes, bend down, and just show you can this guy off the map. Ain't nobody stepping on anyone's shoes, bro. Are you mad? But we're at the end of the video, and these were some menacing, unreasonable crash outs I had. If you guys got any more others you want to see in future videos, let me know, and I'm gonna add some more to this topic.
Oh, you got the Zelda music in here.
Man, and I hope you have a blessed day. Peace.
Zoro's domain. Okay, Waves. W video. I'm gonna leave like right there.